Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Commander Clash podcast, where we talk all things Commander. And we just wrapped up Modern Horizons 3, so you know what that means. It's time for a new set. Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed is coming out. Universes Beyond, one of the biggest franchises of all time. Assassins. We are all experts on this franchise. You're gonna find out today. We're gonna do the top cards from Assassin's Creed. Now, this is a set made for Modern, but suspiciously a lot of Commander cards are in here. So we are going to talk about our top picks. Join with me today is Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive. Have you ever played Assassin's Creed?
No, I thought it was about Leonardo da Vinci going around and assassinating people, but Twitch chat told me that's not how it works, and now I'm kind of disappointed. So
technically, maybe. Tomer, Budget Commander, have you played Assassin's Creed?
No, but I actually did know that Leonardo da Vinci wasn't an assassin. That would be absurd because his creature type doesn't say assassin. Duh. So,
see, I only can tell what a character is supposed to do if it has a hat to signify what they are. Like a cowboy hat. I know it's a cowboy. You need a detective hat. There's no hats in this set, so how do I know if it's an assassin?
No, they have the white hood. They have the little point.
Oh, that's what that means.
They have an assassin uniform that says, "Hey, I'm an assassin." We must
Guys,
be very
this
stealthy.
Is actually just the second part of Outlaws of Thunder Junction, because as you all know, assassins are actually outlaws.
Ooh,
so you can play with your cowboy hats with the assassin thingies. But I am the Codfather Richard. I have actually played Assassin's Creed. I played the first one for sure. I've played the second one. I may have or may not have played the third one. I don't remember. This is like literally like a decade ago or 15 years ago, but they were good games. And I just actually bought Black Flag, so that's the piratey one, which is actually supposedly one of the best Assassin's Creeds of all time. So Magic has got me to try that.
I actually researched this, and there's like 10 games and then like 10 more mobile games and books, and it's a huge universe actually.
Whoa, that books and stuff. That's cool.
It's a bigger universe than Lord of the Rings. I don't know if that's true. There's more pieces of media about it than Lord of the Rings. How about that?
That's something.
It outsold Final Fantasy, which surprised me because I thought Final Fantasy was like one of the best-selling games of all time, and it is. But this actually sold even more. It's like just ahead of Final Fantasy in the best-selling franchise list, which is crazy. So apparently, it's pretty popular.
All right. So we are going to attempt to do the top 10 Assassin's Creed cards. We are going to attempt to not butcher all the names. Good thing we don't have lore characters in here. But before we do that, today's show is brought to you by Ultimate Guard, premium protection for your trading cards. All the gaming accessories we use on this channel are supplied by Ultimate Guard, so you can flick your cards silky smooth like Saffron Olive. So check out ultimateguard.com. And also Card Conduit, the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. You can skip all the typing, time, and work associated with buy listing. Their curated service lets you send in as many cards as you want with buy list value of $1 or more, and you pay just a 5% service fee. And you can use their sorted service where you list and sort your cards and pay only 2%. You get a detailed report and fast payment once your order is processed. You can get 10% off by heading over to cardconduit.com/mtggoldfish. So thank you to our sponsors. And it's time for the Ultimate Guard comment of the week. So last week we did underrated Modern Horizons 3 cards. Top comment, Jacob Odell 1516. Next podcast challenge. Richard can't say farewell.
I think we have to find one podcast where Richard's not the topic of the week.
What's wrong with farewell?
Richard has to go through one topic to not have a hot take and be memed on by the comment section. That's a challenge.
What's wrong with farewell? You gotta dodge farewell with the protection spells.
Yeah, but not every game has farewell. I think that's the point, and I agree.
I will say, if you look at the amount of games we've had where farewell was cast compared to the amount of time we spent talking about it, I think we spend way more time talking. The ratio is actually like very skewed because we talk, all of us, not just Richard. Like Richard maybe gets the worst of it, but we all talk about farewell all the time. But then we don't see it like, what do we see? Every few games, maybe there's a farewell involved. It's not like every game has one.
This farewell is used as a shortcut between Wrath of God and the whole spectrum, right? So if you
Yeah.
can dodge Farewell, you can probably dodge Toxic Deluge, right? But you know, if you can't dodge the Toxic Deluge, then you probably can't dodge the Farewell, right? So that we use that as a short. Same with Dies to Doomblade. We've never seen a Doomblade like literally ever. Maybe Crim played it once to troll us, but we've
Dies to
never seen
Doomblade.
it. But it's a shortcut for removal, and then we usually use whatever the best one is, right? So
Sure.
I'm using Farewell for you
But
guys.
I think
It's a placeholder for the best sweeper in the format. That is my shortcut.
I think you could still get wiped to Farewell and still be in a fine board position, but I'm gonna leave that for next week's hot
Yeah,
topic.
you got to
debate.
snap off the Fairies Pro in response, and you're good to go, right?
No, it's called the tempo. It's called tempo. Tempo solves.
I'm
You'll
ready
see.
for
You'll
this.
see.
I'm ready for this
You'll
tempo. That's called not overextending, and I like it. Okay, let's hit up Assassin's Creed. So we're gonna go from number 10 to number 1, roughly. There's 3 of us here. So we had to make some compromises on these rankings. But roughly the least bestest to the bestest, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Smoke Bomb. It's a 3 mana artifact, flash. All creatures have Shroud. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Smoke Bomb. When you do, target creature you control can't be blocked this turn.
I put this here. It was me. I did this. And okay, so we usually do top 10 like most powerful or whatever. And you know what? I could have put like a lot of cards here. I could have forced a lot of cards here, like Leonardo da Vinci or whatever. But those are boring. I wanted to talk about Smoke Bomb. So first of all, Smoke Bomb. If you look at like what a smoke bomb is and what it's doing, it's like the design to flavor A++.
Yeah.
Secondly, every single time you get to cast Smoke Bomb, you can yell Smoke Bomb and you can throw the card onto the board, and then you just feel good. You know, it's a feel good card. But lastly, I think the card is actually legitimate in a couple decks, mostly artifact decks, because it's basically like an artifact's way of basically stopping targeted removal on your stuff. So if somebody tries to Source of Plowshares your important creature, you go, Smoke Bomb, and you throw it down on the floor, and bam, nothing happens. But then secondly, you could also mess with your opponent's stuff too. Like, let's say they're like an equipment deck, and you're afraid that they're going to, like, they play a big equipment, and they're going to, like, you know, they're going to kill you with it. You know, they have protection from white and green or something, and they're going to swing in with an unblockable, and they go to equip, they pay their 2 mana to equip it, you're going, Smoke Bomb! And then boom, they can't. They cannot. It's done. So you can use it both, like, offensively and defensively, and then when you sacrifice it, you know, you get unblockable, so you might be able to get in there for a lethal swing. It's a permanent, so you could blink it before your next upkeep to get more Smoke Bombs, and it's also an artifact, so artifact synergies. Smoke Bomb!
The flavor is really good. Like, if you want to design a top-down design of a Smoke Bomb, the card absolutely nails it. It's so perfect. Power level-wise, I do like that you can fizzle your opponent's stuff. We see that trick sometimes with, like, Vines of Vastwood. It's, like, worded in a weird way where you can give your opponent's thing protection from themselves, so it, like, fizzles their pump spell or their equip. So you feel really smart when you get people with it. Little worried that it is 3 mana, and that's, like, Teferi's protection mana or Flawless Maneuver Hardcat. Like, you can just have things that protect your entire board from a Wrath rather than a creature from a targeted removal for the same amount of mana. I wish it was like,
are you avoiding saying the F
or
word?
1 mana or
What is it like?
Farewell.
But so somebody Swords of Plowshares you in response.
You might get us to
Teferi's
commanded or onto
It looks boring.
It's like your opponent goes to cast a spell, you're like Smoke Bomb, and then it's like a nuke goes off and annihilates the entire city. That's Farewell, by the way.
Oh my god!
It is cute though. So the biggest discourse I see in the EDH community right now is Nadu. Nadu. This should be banned. Is it whatever?
It's true.
This is a 1-turn
Smoke Bomb.
reprieve from Nadu, right? You Smoke Bomb. They can't see anything. Their Shuko like goes flying off to the side. They can't equip it. So this gets around that. I feel this is like a budget dress down, right? Like you play it and it like messes with things, but it might actually do nothing half the time except it's 3 mana and doesn't redraw and it deals with less things. But it's cute. It can protect your creatures in a pinch. It can mess with your opponents. And like Tomer said, Smoke Bomb, right? Like,
Hey, it's not the best card. I'll be honest. Like, this is not if this is a top 10 best cards in Assassin's Creed, it still wouldn't be on the top 10. But like, at least you get some style points.
Yeah, you get some style points. Is there any deck specifically you'd played in, Tomer? You mentioned there were like a couple. I didn't know if you had one off the top of your head.
I'm putting in my Tetsun deck.
You're
because
putting
my
in Tetsun?
Tetsun deck has like a crazy amount of artifacts. It's like 51 or so artifacts,
Wow.
so I can always hit with Tetsun. And this one is just like I need protection. I need like some sort of protection. My only counter spell
called
is
Lightning
there's
Greaves.
a crab. There's a crab that you could channel
Oh,
to mana leak
Mirror Shell
something.
Crab,
I run
yeah.
that. That's my only counter spell is the crab. And now I need something to protect from removal at instant speed. Smoke bomb.
Smoke bomb.
It's so good. Smoke bomb. And then you
All
can
right.
use it to craft when it's in the graveyard. So good.
Moving on to number 9. We're gonna go to the true power rankings now. Okay, so Ballad
okay.
of the Black Flag, 1 blue. So 3 mana value, blue saga. Chapters 1, 2, and 3 are all the same. Mill 3 cards. You may put a historic card from among them into your hand. Chapter 4, historic spells you cast this turn cost 2 less to cast.
So I really like this
Phyrexian Arena?
card. So it's kind of a Phyrexian Arena. If you think it's kind of painful truce
no.
even, and it also fills your graveyard. It's a 3-mana draw 3, right? Like, hopefully. So there is some risk of whiffing here. You're milling 3 cards, putting a historic card from among them in your hand. I'm assuming if you're playing this, you're an artifact deck or a legends deck, something that's going to be heavily themed after historic. So hopefully your odds of whiffing are not very high. Also worth mentioning, like, legendary lands work towards it too. Artifact lands work towards it too. So I think you can build your deck in a way, or just slot this into a deck that's built in a way where you're mostly going to be drawing a card with every one of those lore counters. If you're drawing 3 off of this and also filling your graveyard, which is relevant for a lot of decks for delving and reanimation, I think this is actually a pretty good card. We've talked before about in Commander, really when it comes down to it, you want card advantage and mana advantage in its own weird, slow, soggy way. This kind of does both, right? You draw 3 cards and then it ramps you for a turn to cast your historic spell. So not a card that goes in every deck, but if I'm playing an artifact deck or like a legendary themed deck, I think I'm going to jam this because I feel like it's actually going to be pretty powerful. Or am I wrong? Am I off base? Because it is kind of slow, right? That's the
I'm
downside.
hyper geometricing. Hold on.
That's
Let
what
me
I
see
was
this
literally
looks
doing
like.
that too. I was literally doing
Oh,
that
this is
too.
not good enough, Seth. Okay.
Not good enough.
I don't know. So if you have 35 successes, okay, so remember, your deck has like 37
35
lands,
is low.
Yeah.
right? But your deck is 37 lands, right? So if half of your deck is the remaining half artifacts, you would have roughly like 35 artifacts, or historic spells. Sorry, that's a 75% chance.
Okay.
On the mill. But if you bump it up to like 50ish, that's 89, and it gets better.
Okay. I mean, even
But
75
50 historic is a lot, right? I guess depends how many lands you can make legendary, right?
Yeah.
If you play enough legendary lands, you can like totally fix this. But
Yep.
I guess if you're a pure artifact deck, but it's so slow.
Do you
My
think it's
Tetsun runs
It's not Painful Truth. Painful Truth is a burst of card draw, right? This is Phyrexian Arena with an onboard scary turn that everyone's looking at as they watch you put your big bombs in hand. So it's a little sus, but I think it's good in a dedicated artifact deck. But
scary?
it may be a little too slow there too.
And filling your graveyard's got to count for something, right? Maybe you're playing
Yeah.
Emery or some other, like, there's value to the cards that you're milling.
There
So
is.
I don't know if that makes the card, but that is an upside compared to just drawing a card. And even if you whiff, you got to mill 3 out of it, which still hopefully will have some value to your deck.
I mean, 3 mana draw 2 plus the discount, like the storm turn, is still pretty good.
Mhm.
And you mill
But
what?
the-
like
here- Here's a
7?
question: does this get you killed? Does
No.
this get you?
No.
So when I was doing the spoiler video, my thinking was that this card wouldn't get you killed, that it doesn't look scary enough for people to care about because it's like, oh, it's really slow. It only draws 1 card a turn. Like, am I really going to spend my removal on that or like kill them? Like the ultimate mode's just like a cost reduction for a turn. It's not like, win the game, give everything double strike, make this huge board. So I don't think it looks particularly scary to opponents.
But you're
I
an
think
artifact.
you have
deck,
to be
remember that.
You have to be very low power for this to be like the scariest thing at the table, I think. But I just mentioned Tetsun. I have 52 artifacts in that deck, so 52 hits.
Yeah.
And if I take out 1, So that's 51. I take out an artifact for this. That's 88% chance each time to hit something. And I want to mill because I want to craft things, with stuff in the graveyard. So
The other
You have
thing,
craft synergies. It turns on Academy runes as well, which is a blue
Yep.
you want to
land.
mill. If
that
you like milling, then it's good.
I think is legendary. Is Academy runes legendary?
it is.
It's like
yeah.
a double synergy. It's a legendary and it can bring back artifacts.
And because this is a saga, it's also a historic spell, which is pretty relevant for Assassin's Creed because a lot of the legends in this set care specifically about historic spells. So it's always nice when your support card also is, working with your payoffs. So I like that it is historic as well.
It might even be best in a saga deck because saga decks usually can add more chapters quickly, so that you can like burn through this effect on maybe 2 turns instead of like 4. So if you have like proliferate and stuff, it gets much better. Just like all sagas, though.
All right. Another blue card. Desynchronization. 2 blue. 4 mana value instant. Return each non-land permanent that's not historic to its owner's hand. And a reminder, in case you don't remember what historic is, artifacts, legendaries, sagas. Those 3 are historic. Is this good? You don't bounce commanders. You don't bounce mana rocks. You don't bounce sagas, but I don't know if that's relevant. Would you play this?
When I first saw this card and I read it, I was like, oh my God, this card's great, right? It's 4 mana, it's instant speed, it's going to bounce everything. It's better than Consuming Tide or Devastation Tide, like these replacements for Cyclonic Rift. But then I thought more about it, and it's 2024. Everything's a legend. Like, this isn't really going to be a full board reset a lot of the time. I think a lot of the time your opponents, like you said, going to have artifacts, going to have sagas, probably going to have legends over there. I don't know if it's actually going to be that realistic to bounce your opponent's entire board with this. So I feel like it's actually more of a tempo play than a hard reset, like Cyclonic Rift, where it's like I'm playing a deck that's not going to be hurt by this at all. I make you pick up 2 or 3 of your things, and you're going to have to spend mana to recast them. So I think that's how I view the card, which I think is still good. It reminds me most of Ursa's Ruinous Blast, a card that's super strong, but it gets a little bit worse because your opponents have a lot of legends these days. So I think it's a card like that. If I'm playing a legend deck or an artifact deck, I think I would run this card, but I don't think of it as a wrath. I think of it as I'm going to like bounce some percentage of your stuff and make you spend mana to recast it. So tempo.
You got me with tempo. The one word that gets my heart every time. I totally agree. Like, you have to be in a deck where this does not bounce your stuff. I guess it could be like in a blink deck or something. No,
I would actually say the exact opposite. You have to be in a blink deck where you are purposely picking up your non-important pieces to replay again, and your important pieces, which would be your mana rocks and probably your legendary Panharmonicon type things, stay on the battlefield. You pick up your stuff, you slap it back down again. That seems very reliable versus hoping your opponent doesn't have legendaries, right?
Yeah.
Like, I guess you get the token deck, right? The token deck gets like totally destroyed by this, but everything's a legendary now, right? And the mana rocks allow you to redeploy it. So that's a big problem. So I would play it in decks where I can make use of the bounce, and I bounce my own stuff. I play it again for value.
I feel like there's so many better mass blink stuff for your creatures though these days.
What if you're not
even
white? Actually, Ghostly Flicker. Wait, is that blue?
Yeah.
There's some blue
That
ones,
is blue,
right?
yeah.
I
don't think
that's
blue
only
has
2.
mass bounce though, right? That I can think of. I don't think there's anything. Well, there's stuff that bounces all back to your hand, but mass blink. I don't think blue has mass blink at this point.
No,
but
I like it for the set style. I think like if I'm mass historic, legendary artifacts or whatever, and I play it, and like there are a lot of legendaries, and your commanders aren't going to get bounced or whatever, but like it really messes up like a combat swing or something. You swing out, you think you have blockers or whatever, and I take out like at least half of your creatures and then a bunch of other random value pieces. I think that's worth it.
And it's instant speed, so you can like do it at the least opportune time for your opponents, like on their end step. So they got to wait until their next turn to start. They got to discard something to hand size, wait till their next turn to redeploy stuff. So I think being an instant like improves it a lot too.
All right,
it's a weird one.
Abstergo Entertainment, a legendary land. It enters untapped. It adds a colorless mana. You can pay 1 generic and tap it to add 1 mana of any color. You can pay 3 mana and tap it exile it, return up to one target historic card from your graveyard to your hand, then exile all graveyards.
So obvious
I
comparison,
don't like this.
Scavenger Grounds, right? How does this compare to Scavenger Grounds for you guys? So downside is one more mana, which is annoying. Downside is no land type, so you can't tutor it up with your desert tutors like you can with Scavenger Grounds. Upside is it can fix your mana, which Scavenger Grounds never going to do it, not efficiently, but it can, in a pinch, make colored mana that you need. And you get to get something back to your hand before you wipe the graveyard. So I know we play Scavenger Grounds. Do you play this instead, at least in some decks? What if you're a historic deck, a saga deck, a legendary deck? I think that's where I would play this over Scavenger Grounds. In a generic deck, probably worse than Scavenger Grounds, but in a deck that cares about historic cards, I think it would be worth it, especially if I'm 5 colors and can get some value out of the fixing in rare instances.
No, 5 colors. No, it's colorless. No,
But
stop.
it's actually makes mana of any color.
You would never run Scavenger Grounds in a 5 color deck,
But this
please.
makes mana of any color.
No, but it's so mana efficient, Seth, please. No, this is like if I'm like Yoshimaru
the
Rogue Rack or
tempo.
something, you know? Like, no, this is negative tempo. This is like tempo hurts my soul tempo. This is no. So, but like, if I'm in a 2-color legendary deck or something like that, then this makes a lot of sense. But I think it's worse than Scavenger Grounds for a lot of reasons. First of all, Scavenger Grounds, you sacrifice any desert, and desert just got a lot of synergies. Like, there's a 2-drop that like searches a desert, with catch-up ramp requirements and stuff. So you can sacrifice other deserts to that. And I think keeping up, 3 mana up to instant speed exile is a lot, but it's a lot less than 4 mana up to instant speed exile. Even though you get a historic thing back, that's nice. But also the mana fixing is so bad. It's so bad, Seth. If you have to,
It
if you have to go down mana to mana fix. Oh,
It is bad,
it's
but
not
think of the Richard
that
mana base
bad.
where he has like 7 colorless lands and he really just needs that one colored pip. In that situation, it's worth it, right? You're making all this mana with your Ancient Tombs and your Tron lands. What's
yeah,
one
but I
more
like
mana?
casting spells on the first couple turns of the game consistently. How about that?
You shouldn't need like super mana intensive spells on curve, right? Like it's very hard to play those, so like this doesn't help you there, but it does help when you have 8 mana and then you're trying to scrounge up like quad red or something to like double spell 2 pip intensive spells. So it does something. But having said that, no one, I don't know, man. Like 3 mana instant speed Scavenger Grounds, no one holding that up, okay? It's like you're holding T-Pro, and then someone just happens to reanimate. You're like, okay, cool, I'll snap off Scavenger Grounds, but like you're not holding up 3 mana, let alone 4 mana.
Okay.
Is there any legendary land synergy? So it does not turn on the legendary spells, right? Like Urza's
It's
Ruinous
historic.
Blast
It's
needs a
historic
creature.
permanent.
It works with the
Right?
saga we were just talking about. It's a way you can up your
Yes.
historic count for stuff like that. But
Okay,
yeah,
you can
like
up
the
your historic
legendary
count.
sorceries do specifically need a creature planeswalker, I believe, for them to work. So it's not going to help. It's not going to help with that. What if I sell you in it this way? What if this card is Buried Ruin with upside rather than Scavenger Grounds? You ever play Buried
Buried
Ruin?
Ruin.
Because you're like, hey, I need to get back a certain
Very
artifact from my
rarely.
graveyard. What if this
Not
is
since 2012.
what if you're playing this to get back a certain key saga, a certain key legend, a certain key artifact, and it just has the upside that you're incidentally hitting on the graveyard? Does that make it any better if you think of it as a Buried Ruin instead of a Scavenger Grounds?
So if you're playing an artifact deck, you do not want to exile your graveyard. You want to keep it,
Yeah.
right? So you have to be playing like, I don't know, a saga deck or something, but usually artifacts have very strong recursion. So you do not want to wipe your graveyard. And it's not a May, right? It's return up to one historic card, then exile all
Well.
graveyards.
Oh, yeah,
So
there it's
you're
going.
nuking. We're gonna bring Farewell into this again, right? like
No.
white decks often don't want to run Farewell because they need their graveyard and they need their creatures to go to the graveyard. So even though it is like the greatest sweeper of all time, if you're playing a white weenie deck, you don't run Farewell because you don't want to like destroy your card advantage engine. Same with artifacts, right? Like I don't think you want to wipe your graveyard if you're playing an artifact deck. So you have to be playing some other type of historic deck, like I don't know, Yoshimaru or something. But even that Yoshimaru, like you don't want to wipe your graveyard. It has to be
How
the
do we
saga
always
deck.
get Farewelled if no white deck wants to play Farewell? I don't understand this paradox.
Because you're like a Orzhov deck that's just splashing white as opposed to leaning in on like the hardcore white weenie strategy, right?
But Orzhov decks are sacrifice decks, and they also don't want to get rid of their graveyard.
Well, yeah, they don't. They shouldn't run farewell. I mean,
Well, okay,
you're
fine.
doing
Wait,
your opponent's job for you if you just remove one of your resources from the game, right? So I feel like it's not Buried Ruin, or it's not like, say, Academy Ruins or whatever. Like they don't wipe your graveyard.
All right, so how about this? What about monocolored decks where you actually like you have a lot of room? Do you have enough room in your utility land slot to
No.
play this, or is this just so far down the list that even in monocolor,
It's so
are you
far
playing a
down the
basic over
list.
this? Are we adding
No,
a
but you can
Tomer
play
basic?
literally. I might actually play basic over, but you can play literally any other MDFC. You can play any other utility land. There's
I like
no
how
way
low
you
you
can run
guys
this for
think
free,
of
would you?
basic lands. Like, this is how bad it is. Like, well, this utility that's pretty garbage, but is it as garbage as a basic land in monocolor?
Okay, wait.
I can get rid of
would-
all
I
of
would
those.
remove the 8th basic land if I had no other cards at my disposal for this Abstergo Entertainment. However, I have a list of like 50 lands that never make the cut, so probably one of those would
That's
go
true.
in before this one.
I'm gonna try it.
Okay, this or Zoff consumption in a mono black
Zoff
deck.
consumption, 100%, not even close.
Zero. Neither of these. Neither of these. That's the correct answer. Put your swamps in the
You
mono
know what
black
this
deck,
reminds
please.
me of? This reminds me of like War Room. Like everyone puts it in their deck, but like
Our-
who actually activates it for 4 mana, which is like
Who?
3 in itself, to draw a card? Like ever. Like it very rarely ever
I've
is
done it.
activated, and you're very rarely happy about it. You might as well just play
Of
something
course,
else.
Seth's done it. Of course, Seth's done it.
That's
This is-
that's my game plan for turn 4. I
I
need that
know.
extra card in my hand.
No, but
tap all those
War
lands,
Room
give
is
me
leg-
that card.
Worm, legitimately, a lot of people still like it, and I've been like the #1 hater for many years on it. But
Really?
yeah, it's garbage. No, you don't spend that much mana to activate
War
and draw
Room,
one
right?
card.
Yeah.
Is that
But-
in Castle Lochwain also terrible? By the way,
Yes.
both of them.
I play those
But
trash
this is
tier.
very good in like Cauldra, right? You're not a heavy artifact deck, but like
No,
there is a piece that you absolutely
No.
need, and you will spend your entire turn to retrieve it from the graveyard, right? So I would play it in one of those decks, like my
Yeah.
Bloodforged Battle Axe deck. I'm like, I need the axe, right? I'm gonna spend my whole turn
fine.
and my land to like grab it back. So yeah, like,
So like a
But you
buried
could just
ruin.
you could run like the Academy Ruins or something instead, and not
you gotta
exile
run
the
all of
graveyard.
them.
I guess.
You gotta run all of them to get your one key card back. Okay. Speaking of things you could get back, Caduceus,
Caduceus?
Caduceus.
Caduceus?
I don't
Caduceus?
know.
That
It's
sounds
the
right.
staff of Hermes. Some Greek mythology buff will let us know how to pronounce this. Legendary artifact equipment. 2 and a white, so 3 mana value. Equipped creature has lifelink. As long as you have 30 or more life, equipped creature gets +5/+5 and has indestructible. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to this creature. Equip white.
Is this card not busted? Is it not busted? It's
It's
worded
not.
like
Wait,
Sarah
busted?
ascended it. Like it's well, I mean, very strong. Like a very strong. If you think about it, it's like we're playing Commander, right? This is worded like the old cards before Commander was a thing. So if you play this on turn 3, you start at 40 life in Commander, so you're automatically going to have more than 30 life. So it's just automatically going to be on. And then when you think of what it is, +5/+5 and indestructible and prevent all damage to it and lifelink. It's like a sort of Cauldron mixed with a dark steel plate, plus it gives you lifelink and a pariah shield. And it only equips for 2. Like, obviously really good in life gain decks, but I think this is just good in equipment decks. I think if I'm playing a Stoneforge deck or an equipment deck, I think I just run this. And then if you get below 30 life, this gives your thing lifelink, so you put on your biggest creature and try to get back up above 30 life. And then you have this huge indestructible lifelinking threat that's just sitting there. I think this card's like great for equipment decks and great for life gain decks.
That's pretty good.
Yes.
I really like it.
Play it outside.
I wouldn't play it in. I wouldn't put it in my equipment deck, but I think it could make it in equipment decks. And like, it is generically good, but it's like very good in lifelink as well. Like very, very good in lifelink. I don't know. Yeah, I agree with Seth. Like it gives a thing lifelink. So if you put it on a big thing, you're going to gain a bunch of life, and then once you go over 30, which is very easy,
That's a bigger
then
thing.
That becomes busted because it has indestructible and can't die and gets +5/+5.
And it combos with Pariah. Stick the Pariah on the creature with this. All the damage to
Oh,
you goes to it. It can't take damage.
We don't need to run backwards to justify this stuff, please.
So This is a card that looks very strong. Doesn't even make
Oh,
the
no.
cut in a Voltron deck. I'm not even sure, right? Because there's a lot of strong equipment, and if it does, I'm like, great. My real question is, does it make the cut outside of Voltron decks? Would
So-
you shove it into a random deck because it is simply that strong? And my intuition is no. I would just play like, if I'm playing like big beaters like Galta, I'll just take a Shadow Spear, right? It's like much easier to cast. It like gets me a ton of life. If I want like actual protection, I would get like a Mithril Coat or a Robe of Stars or something like that. So I don't know that I would play it outside of Voltron. It's double white too to equip.
won't put
which
it in
is
life
not
gain?
easy. Would you though?
I'd
Like if
put
I'm
it-
playing Soul Sisters, do I even need this? I'm just playing a bunch of weenies and gaining life. Like I don't.
My Soul Sister's now a 6/6.
Yeah, now it's a Saracendant or whatever. Your Soul Warden is
Yeah.
smashing and indestructible.
I'm
You guys fail to
100%
believe how
putting
much Soul Warden gains you. You like play it, like 2 turn cycles later, you're up like 40 life without attacking anyone. So
But you
I think
also
if you're
puts a-
combat-y,
you need
this
to kill
puts
your
some
opponents
pressure on them.
eventually. Yeah.
Yeah. I really like this in Voltron for sure because I'm also running Mytho Cold in Voltron, but this is yet another way of giving indestructible. So you just run both.
I like
And then,
that it's
and then
yeah.
Soul Sister's really good.
I think it has a
lets you
good
kill-
shot at Voltron, but I don't know if I would play it outside. Maybe I would. I play Whip of Erebos sometimes, just for the lifelink.
I was gonna say
Right?
yeah,
I don't
this
even
is-
plan on whipping anything back. I'm like, I just want lifelink on my
It
creature.
gives you lifelink.
Yeah,
that-
so like maybe this is good enough.
if we're playing that
It's not gonna
MDFC
go wide,
that's
obviously,
like
but-
5 mana to give +2/+2 and lifelink to a creature, isn't this like way better than that? If we
Land.
want like
If this was a land on the backside, Seth, I'd be all with you. Okay?
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But he does all those things. Your Mithril Coat also is incidental life
Yeah.
gain and also giving
Yep.
you like a huge boost of power. +5/+5 is a big boost for an equipment to give you for a 3-mana equipment. So I
I
like
think
it.
I like it. I think I'll shove
I
it
like
in
it.
random white decks.
Yeah.
Like if I
I'm
have Stoneforge, I'll probably get the Dowsing Dagger still, but you could get this thing if you blink.
I thought
If you blink
I thought Richard
Stoneforge.
wouldn't like it because then it makes everybody want to attack you or something like that. But if
It
it's like
gets
not
better
good
because
enough,
gaining
it's not
life.
powerful.
It gets swept up by farewell,
Okay.
so it's,
All right, that's
it's
good.
trash.
It does get swept by farewell, so unplayable.
It does get swept up by Farewell. I don't know.
Hello, YouTube commenters. Hello.
We
All
believe.
right. Crystal Skull, Isu, Spyglass, 2 blue, legendary artifact. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play historic lands and cast historic spells from the top of your library. Tap it to add a blue. 4 mana rock. That's
Well, it's
a
a-
card
it's a
advantage
future sight.
engine.
Yeah. It's Future Sight. Isn't Future Sight also 4 mana? I think.
Future Sight's 5,
5.
actually, but it
Oh,
lets you
what?
play
Future Sight anything,
anything, not just historic
Yes.
spells.
But this is like really good in historic, but it's like I'm such a broken record today, but it's like it's artifacts, right? Like again, my 52 artifact deck with Tetsun is gonna be like, okay, so this is an artifact, so I don't go down artifacts, and then I get to play all my artifact lanes and play all of my artifact spells on the top of my library, and it just also taps for mana too. Sure. Yes, please. Thank you.
How does it compare to Mystic Forge? I think that's the closest comparison, especially for artifacts. So Mystic Forge 4 mana lets you play artifacts off the top of your deck. The upside of that is you get to tap it once to exile a card. So if you fizzle, you get one new look at the top of your deck. This has the upside of making mana. Do you play Mystic Forge? Would you jam both of them? Is one better than the other? Because I think that's the slot it's kind of fighting for, I think, in Artifact decks probably, is like the Mystic Forge slot.
So
I
you
have
can
Mystic
play
Forge in the
historic
deck and I just run
lands.
both.
Yeah.
Right. So you can play your artifact lands off the top of the deck, which is pretty sweet. You can play legendary lands, which we're getting more and more of.
Yep.
Also, you can't play lanes with Mystic Forge.
No.
So
You got to pay the 1 life to
you
exile
gotta pay
that
the
off.
1 life. So I think
I mean, I think you just play
better,
both. But
but
What about legendary decks? What about like we've talked a lot about artifacts, but the other big keyword when it comes to historic is legends, right? So what about like Joda or something like that? Is this worth playing in a deck that's like I'm just gonna jam every legendary creature because that's the theme of my deck? Do you play it in those Sisei or Joda or no? Not really.
I think for Joda, you really don't care about non-legendary creatures, like, or you don't care about creatures like legendaries that aren't creatures, because Joda just gives you so much more if it's creatures. there's like some exceptions, but like you could draw so many cards with Joda just with creatures or whatever.
So you just
You
don't
don't
need
really
it,
need
basically.
this. Yeah, I don't think you need it. It also doesn't like become a 2020 when you have Joda on the battlefield. So that's a
But
little
it's
bit
still,
worse.
it's
It's not
legendary, so it
bad.
still cascades. Like you can cast
Yeah,
it off
it's
the
not
top of
bad.
your deck to trigger your Joda. I think it might be fine.
No,
I think the big issue is like
it's fine.
artifacts are cheap, right? That's kind of the upside, is they're often cheap and colorless, so they're pretty easy to chain off the top of your deck. Legendary creatures, not usually as cheap and much more colorful. So I think it's a little harder to have those big combo turns in a legendary creature deck than an artifact deck.
Hmm.
What do you think,
I play
Richard?
both. That is
You
the
play both?
answer. I mean, I don't know. Like,
Hmm.
it has to draw more than one a turn. So, like Seth said, I think you have to be playing something with low mana value so you can like play multiple spells off the top. If you're just playing like one off each turn, I don't think that's worth it. I do like in artifact decks because you're like, if I get Vandal Blasted, I'm dead anyway.
Yeah.
So you might as
Yes.
well just go all
Yes.
in. Right? Like I don't like it in like a random other deck because it gets caught up in the sweeper. You might as well just play ramp. But in an artifact deck, like you're gonna try to counterspell that Vandal Blast and like get out of it. So I
Mirror
like it
Shell
there.
Crab. That's what it's there for. You farewell me. I hope that I have a Mirror Shell Crab in my hand. That's it.
Excalibur, Sword of Eden, 12 mana, so 12 generic mana, legendary artifact equipment. This spell costs X less to cast, where X is the total mana value of historic permanents you control. Equipped creature gets +10/+0 and has vigilance. Equip legendary creature 2.
This card is so fun. This card is so fun. It's like really good, generically good in historic decks. It will just like if you have any historic deck, right? You're just like really historic heavy. You have a commander. You have a legendary creature in the command zone. You just play and it has +10/+0 and vigilance, and you smack people for like something that costs 0 mana to cast. That's really good, right? But like I don't even want to put it in a historic deck. I want to put it in Galta. I want to cast
Ooh.
my Galta for 1 green mana, then play Excalibur for 0 mana, quip it, and one-shot people with my 22 trample vigilance.
I think it's even better than that. Like, I think those are good homes. It does work really well with Galta, but I think this is like just an equipment potential staple. Like, think of an equipment deck. You have your commander.
They're all
you're playing
historic.
equipment. They're all historic. It seems pretty realistic that this is going to be 0 mana in any deck that's built around equipment. And then +10/+0 is like, that's like a Colossus Hammer amount of puffing. That's like one shot kill. Stick this on your commander, make it use your smoke bomb or something to make it unblockable.
Smoke
Smack someone. Yeah, smoke bomb. Got him. Like, isn't this card? You're the equipment player, Richard. Is this not just like really good?
This is amazing.
I mean, if you're playing equipment, you have Colossus Hammer already, and you have the means to equip it, and they're essentially both free, right? Because Colossus Hammer is 1 mana, 1,000,000 to equip, but you're gonna equip it with like a cheaty spell. This will be 0 to
Leadership
cast,
Paladin.
equip 2, right? You're gonna cheat it anyway, so they're both essentially free. It does give you that critical mass though, right? Like if you are looking for efficient pumping of your commander, you only have Colossus Hammer today. This gives you a second option. I don't know about playing it in a random deck though. Like it's easier to turn on than Colossus Hammer because Colossus Hammer you got to cheat the equip, which is not as easy.
Mhm.
But like if you're just playing like a dirtle like 5/5 commander, it's like 15/5. So you got to hit them twice with it, right? And once people see this come down, you're not gonna be able to hit them in the same way that Voltron decks can. What about
think-
green decks that can draw that can draw based on power?
Oh, pump for power.
Right? Like
Oh,
like Tomer had the Galta move,
stonks.
right? But like you could just equip this and then draw like 1,000,000,000 cards. Like I find that a lot more appealing. I'm sure there's some ways to break this outside of just dedicated Voltron decks.
there's
I said stop worrying about the draw. Just kill people. It's +10. Just
Plus
murder
that's
them.
not enough. They'll fog you.
It's enough.
but I
You
could
need
draw into
double
something
strike,
that
and
kills
who has
them,
double
Tomer.
strike? If you're not
Let's run
Voltron.
double strike too. Extra
It's-
combat. I like that it has vigilance too. Like that's a big one because a lot of times when I'm killing people, like yeah, I kill one person, but then like oh well, like now I'm tapped down and now I can die. That's bad. So vigilance is like really nice. I can kill somebody worry free, which
Yeah,
is
or-
enjoyable.
Or maybe you're commander has like a tap ability. You can attack with it and still be able to use its ability. I think we missed the single best home though for this card. I think it was like someone at WotC has a Tetsu Imperial Champion deck, because this card is like, because Tetsu, it's a Grixis equipment commander, but both of its abilities refer to the highest mana value of equipment attached to it. So this is a 12 mana value equipment. I believe the highest mana value equipment we've ever had in Magic, but it's going to be free most of the time. So then you put it on Tetsu and you're dealing huge amounts of damage, casting these huge mana value spells from free from your hand. So I think that's like, all those other places are good, but if I'm playing Tetsu, this is like the first card I add to Tetsu as like so perfect for that deck. Yeah.
I think this one is like, has so many homes. Equipment, historic matters. Tetsuo was also kind of equipment-y, but it's really good.
How big of a deal?
Against Labyrinth.
Ooh, that's true. That's an upside.
You get a soul land, and then later on you can grab it back when the timing is right.
How big of a deal is only equipping to Legends? Are we at all concerned? Because that's like, it reminds me a little bit of Blackblade Reforged, where Blackblade Reforged has like the super high equip cost unless you're putting on a Legend. Is that a problem that you literally can't put this on your Esper Sentinel or Stoneforge Mystic or whatever? Or is that not actually a concern? Because you got a commander and you just put it on that.
I think that's fine. Yeah, like in an equipment deck, like it doesn't matter. You have a Pure Steel Paladin, you have other ways of equipping
That's
for
true.
free, so you can get around it. Outside of that, it could be a problem. Like if your commander keeps dying, then you're like, oh, well, what do I do with this? But like, I don't know, it's worth it. It's a potentially 0 costs plus 10 plus 0 vigilance and then equip 2. That's worth running for sometimes. I don't have a.
Isn't there a card that's draw equal to the highest mana value of artifacts you control? We can do the green card draw in blue now, Richard. We can do it in blue.
My God.
One with the multiverse or something. One with something. Oh, we're doing
Just kill people.
We're doing
it.
it.
Plus 10 damage. Just plus 10 damage. It's so funny because like
this is not enough to kill people though, right? This
it's
is
enough
like...
to kill people.
YouTube's gonna grill me for this.
But
right?
I can draw cards.
This is the oh my god!
know.
It's a 2-turn clock on your commander. Except your deck is not built to do that. So realistically, you have very little shot of protecting and forcing this through. But everyone sees it, and your commander is dead, right? Like no one is gonna let this go on because they're like, oh, what if they play boots on their turn? I can't remove it anymore, right? Gotta fire off all my sorcery speed. So
But
you have
said-
to be a deck that can actually use this to close the game, rather than play it for value, because it looks like a half combo piece, right? It's a combo piece in Voltron. For everyone else, it's a half combo piece. So you better be doing something very interesting with it before people get all like antsy and like try to get rid of it, right?
I'm pretty sure the turn I cast this and equip it to somebody, I'm usually closing out the game. Like it's plus 10 damage.
If it's on Galta, sure, but what if your commander's like a 3/3, right?
Well, all my things attack, so I've been already hitting you in the face a few times for a couple turns, and you probably have like, 8 commander damage already, and then I just finish you off with the plus 10 plus 0 vigilance.
I think it's
Come on.
I think it's fine. I don't know, dude. Like Blackblade Reforged is a good card, but I don't know, immediately have to kill the person that plays it or something. So I don't think it's like that big of I don't know if people view it as a combo piece. Maybe they should, but I don't think it'll be viewed that way by the average player, hopefully.
What? You get hit for 10 commander damage, you're like, I wonder who's gonna hit next turn.
Tis but a scratch.
Like, oh, I wonder what's gonna happen here, right?
Play your extra combat spells afterward and finish your job.
Yeah, I
Give
mean,
it double
if you're
strike.
set up to do that, then this is great.
Yeah.
Okay. Viewpoint Synchronization. 5 mana green spell, 4 in the green, sorcery. Free running 3. So 2 in a green. You may cast the spell for its free running cost if you dealt combat damage to a player this turn with an assassin or commander. Search your library for up to 3 basic land cards and reveal them. Put 2 of them on the battlefield tapped, and the other into your hand, then shuffle. Mega Kodama's reach here.
Crash.
Mega
if
Kodama-
you do some free running.
I only have 2 basics, so this card is kind of a fail for me.
But oh my god!
Oh, you don't like this, Seth?
This is gonna get you to play more basics.
So-
this is gonna get you to play more basics, right?
I would have to play more basics, and I think it's actually good in specific decks, right? Like I think if I'm gonna play
like
this,
ones with basics.
no, not ones. I don't think it's that good. I think it's like if I'm playing a cheap commander, if I'm playing assassins, sure, yes. I'm 5-color assassins. It's in my deck for sure. If I'm not playing assassins, I think I need a 1 or 2 mana commander with the plan being to hit you and then use this. Because I think at 5 mana, it's bad, right? At 5 mana, I could be Hour of Promising and getting non-basics and like doing way better things. So I think I need to be able to relatively consistently free run it on turn 3. If my deck can do that, and I'm willing to play 3 basic lands, then the card's really good. But if I am not willing to play 3 basic lands, or my commander's like 6 mana or something, and I'm not going to be attacking with it early, then I think there's better options.
I think like the first one that came to mind was Skullbriar. It's like a 2 mana Voltron-y commander. And it has haste, but it's not very relevant. You basically play turn 2 Skullbriar. Turn 3 you swing in. Well, turn 2 you swing in, it gets a little bit bigger. Turn 3 you swing in again. You hit for somebody for some damage, and then you cast Viewpoint Synchronization, and now you're basically set up for the rest of the game. And that seems good.
I believe none of you, because
Wow.
I have never seen anyone cast a Dowsing Dagger on Commander Clash. And a Dowsing Dagger, all that it asks is you have a 1 or 2 mana creature to play on turn 2. Turn 3, you can play it equip, smash, and it does the same rampy thing. This is more restrictive because you need your commander to be that low mana value. So if you guys aren't slapping Dowsing Dagger into every one of those decks, why would you do this and add even more basics?
There is an upside though. So I do play some
cheaper.
Dowsing Daggers, but I think the biggest upside is with Dowsing Dagger, you need to play the dagger, equip it, and then attack. With this, you can hit your opponent. They don't know that you're about to cast this, so they're not thinking, oh, I'm going to take 1 from a commander on turn 2. What do I care? And then you're able to cast this post-combat and then do the big ramping. When sometimes, I think we've seen it happen on Commander Clash, like occasionally your commander gets swords on turn 3 or whatever when you go to equip the dagger because people are just like, oh no, we can't let that happen. It's too much mana.
Or do we just block it?
Yeah, so I think the surprise element, which is also, I guess, flavorful for an Assassin's card, I think that's what makes it, like, not better than Dowsing Dagger, but that's the upside compared to Dowsing Dagger, I think.
It also costs us mana, right? Dowsing Dagger yields 4 mana total. This one's 3. So I think that's also kind of relevant.
And no one gets any plants. Sometimes those plants are a drawback.
Dagger refunds you 3 instantly on the same turn that you hit.
Yeah.
So Dowsing Dagger is more mana efficient. But I actually really like this card. I'm gonna play it everywhere. I'm gonna begrudgingly add even more basics to my deck so I can run this.
How many basics do you realistically need to run to play this card?
I think 5.
3
5
now.
You can get. So you play this with just 3 basics? That's so
okay.
greedy.
Here's
What
how I
about
do the
Solemn?
math. I count the number of sources that need basics. So like Solemn, Sacred Tribe Elder, things like that, and then I subtract 1 or 2 off that number.
What?
Because you're assuming you're not going to draw all of them during
because
the game.
I assume I'm not going to get all of them, right?
No.
That's so greedy.
I was going to say you're going to add 1 or 2.
If you subtract 1 from 3, it's not going to work, right? So this one's got to be 3.
So
and if you draw it, you're like, well, whatever, bro. Like, I guess I got, right? It's like Crim milled my 3 fetchable lands, like whatever,
I mean,
right? Like sometimes you get got, but I actually go down, not up.
Honestly, it's fine with 2 lands, right? Even if you failed to find the 3rd and you just put 2 lands into play, that's still like a fine card. So maybe you can get by with 2.
No,
it's actually still real. That's explosive vegetation for 3.
Yeah, for 3 mana.
Good.
Yeah.
Just go 3. What? How's it so hard to add 3 basically?
Like, okay, 3 is okay, but if you're running like Solemn and Sacred Tribe, we can run like 10 basics, Tomer. What kind of monster are you?
Yes. Okay, and I'm the one who yells at you, and I got called out recently when I was playing my Changeling deck, and in that one, I run a lot of basics in all my decks, and this is the only one where I actually run just a single forest, the Path to Exile Cope, and this is the card that I'm actually going to go to 5 basics in that particular deck. So I can run Viewpoint Synchronization and run also my favorite 5 basic lands.
Oh, free running's probably just a great mechanic for changelings, isn't it? I hadn't really thought about that because they're all assassins. So you get to play all those for free.
They're all great, of course.
This is not. I don't know if this is good enough to warp my mana base. So
That's
the only
really
reason I put
what
more basics in is land tax. Like land tax is so cracked that I'm willing to start cutting like MDFCs. I don't know if I'm willing to cut for Viewpoint Synchronization because it's so conditional, but I'm willing to try it. I'm
How
willing to
does
try it.
oh, I think you all. Oh, okay. I've said this many times, but you all undervalue basics so much. You're like, there's no upside to bases, no upside. This is literally like omega level cultivate, right? Like this is so good.
No, but like
this
if you
mana
think about it like
fixes
this,
you.
Tomer, you can play a forest or you can play Temple of the False God. And Temple of the False God ramps you without needing a card or setup or mana or well, okay, it needs setup
But you can
because it
still.
has to be your fifth.
This
right?
helps. This helps turn on your Temple of the False God.
Okay,
This
but
helps
then
it.
now you
It
can
makes
add
it
Ancient
better.
Tomb, Tomer. Now you
Okay,
can add
and run
something
that-
Citadel, Tomer. I can keep
Okay.
adding Sol lands to this. Like I can keep
But-
adding things with enough utility to overcome a basic until I run out
this-
of room for basics,
If
right?
you have 38 lands, in your deck, there's no way you can't find space for like 5 basics in that 38. There's no way. I don't believe you. I want to look at your mana base and I'll start cutting.
Okay, let's say you
I'll
have
start
5
snipping
basics.
away.
You run Viewpoint Synchronization. You run Solemn. Let's say you run.
Okay, now you run 6 basics.
Oh no! Now you're getting wild.
Oh.
5 I can do, but 6 is starting to get there.
It's across the line.
All right.
Do you want to
That's
keep the
solid.
Miser Path to Exile land in there too? Like you gotta go to 7.
Cut the
like,
solemn. Cut the solemn. If you can't do more than 5 basics, you cut the solemn so you can put viewprint in.
Oh, I will
This is
not.
so much better
I don't
than
think I will
solemn.
cut. Would I
You
cut
think it's-
Solemn for Viewprint
Oh.
Synchronization?
If your deck can handle doing this card, because not every deck can run it, right? You have to be either assassins or your commander needs to be hitting, and some decks can't, attack with their commander.
But remember, there's some percentage of the time, like most of the time, it's not in your opening hand. You're just gonna draw it off the top later. Whereas an Hour of Promise will still get my 2 best lands out onto the battlefield. This just gets me like, 2 more force or whatever. Like it's like that's not nothing, but like that's not as exciting as I'd rather get like the 4-drop creature that ramps any land at that point in the game, right?
That's
Because I can get an impactful land.
That's like saying 3 visits is bad because what if I draw it like turn 6? It's like, no, it's very good still.
well, I think the bigger
It's
issue
worth it.
is just they keep printing more non-basic land tutors. So I'm definitely with Richard in the sense that like if I have to choose, I'm playing Sony Microspawn over this because I think getting a single non-basic land is more valuable than 2 basic lands. I would rather have a 1 non-basic.
Okay, Tomer, do you cut Kodama's like what do you cut to put this in? like are you cutting Kodama's reaches? Are you cutting the 2 mana ramp, the 4 mana ramp? What are you cutting to fit this in?
If I have to do a green mana base, it's like going to be all the 2 mana ramp spells.
Mhm.
So that's going to be Steve, this rampant growth, Farseek 3 visits, Nature's Lore. Those are the ones that are going in first. And then for the 3 drops, I can start cutting the cultivates and Kodama's reaches for this. If I can, my deck can enable it.
Do you not play the 4 mana?
What, explosive vegetation? No, I haven't.
Like
for a
Omen
long
Path
time.
Journey, Open the Way, Hour of Promise, the good ones, not explosive vegetation.
No. What would I get for them? More basics? That's so
Well, because your plan is to go from 2 mana to 4 mana, right? So that's why I don't play the 3 mana Kodama's Reach, because I'm planning on ramping on 2 and I go straight to 4. So my ramp starts at 4, the next level, right? So
Well,
interesting.
then you need a lot of 2s, right? Because you won't always every game have a 2.
Yeah.
To go to 4.
It'll be interesting to see how many basics we end up running because of Viewpoint Synchronization.
This will be interesting, chat. This will be interesting, chat.
Yeah, I mean, you just died to that, right? But you died to a lot of things.
Yeah.
At least I don't have to spend the other 6 games like out of gas because all I have are basics, I can actually keep going.
We'll see who's the gaseous commander class. We'll see the gaseous. I'm gonna need a lot of
All
beans, Richard.
We got another free running spell here. Eagle Vision.
Okay.
Also a 5 mana blue sorcery. Free running 1 in a blue, so 2 mana. Draw 3 cards.
I mean,
It's very good, right? Even if
Better
you do the
paint
cope
filter.
5 mana draw 3, it's not that bad, right? It's
I mean,
not
I
that
don't-
bad.
I wouldn't put in a deck that would do that. Like, if you have to consistently do free running, right? Like, if it's like maybe 10% of the time you hard cast it, whatever, sure. Or if it's like super late in the game, whatever. It's like, that's like Lothlorien revealed, right? Like, you don't actually want to always be paying 5 minutes to
I'm
draw
very
3,
happy.
but sometimes it does.
Cast
Yeah,
it
it will work. It will work. Late game, if you're out of gas and you have a lot of mana, it will work. But like 2 mana, draw 3 cards. That's good. That's that's
2-mana draw
tasty.
3 is absurd. We get all hyped about 3-mana draw 3s. 2-mana draw 3s is way better than that. And there's no like catch. It's not like you got to wait a few turns or anything like. You just get to draw 3 cards right away. I do think I'm kind of with Tomer though. Like if I'm playing, I don't know, some big expensive Caduceus or whatever kind of commander, I don't know. Do I still play this? Like, if I know it's unrealistic that I'm going to be free running it anytime soon, do I still play it? That's where I'm not sure. I think if it's like realistic that I'm going to free run it, it's great. But if I'm like 50-50 to free run it, is it worth it still?
You use Rogue's passage. You spent 5 mana.
Oh my god, Richard!
So you can turn on free
Please.
running.
We
I
did
mean,
it,
so
Richard.
this has to be like 2 mana value or less, like, or evasive commander. I guess if your commander has flying or something
Yeah.
like that, you could
Yeah.
get away with it.
The nice thing is drawing 3 is good even later in the game. With the ramp one, it loses some of its value later in the game. It's never bad to get some extra lands on the battlefield, but you're not excited if you're ramping when you already have 10 lands on the battlefield. Drawing 3, it's good early, it's good late. It's never going to be bad. So I think even if you have an evasive commander and you're not going to be hitting like super early with it, I think it's still fine. Like I'm fine with a draw 3 for 2 on turn 6. Like that's perfectly fine with me if I can do it
It has to be
consistently.
on turn
Cast the
6.
stuff.
If you do this on turn 3, you're discarding, right? Because you're also you played your commander from the command zone, so you didn't even use up a card. So if you go land commander, you're gonna just discard 2 afterwards, unless you draw the reliquary tower, right? So you don't want to cast it too early. Richard's been got by the bounce land into secret rendezvous, discard my whole hand, right? Like you gotta mid-rangey. So it's not 2-drop commanders. I think it's commanders with evasion. So commanders like flying, unblockable, menace, things like that. So it's okay if your commander's like a 5-drop, right? But it needs to be able to reliably hit things, and then you can play this, I think. And then it becomes much better. Like on turn 7, you draw 3 with 2 mana, and then you have like 5 mana to like play whatever the heck you just drew.
Yeah, the Seagate restoration you drew into to draw even more cards, living the dream.
That's actually just 2024 magic, where you like can chain like Eagle Vision into Seagate into another Seagate, and then you still have stuff to do. That's just Simic things. All right, last card, number 1 on our list, the infamous. Oh, you guys don't even know what this is, right? Because you don't play Assassin's Creed, but it's the Haystack. It's 1 and a white. It's a 2-mana
I know what a
artifact.
haystack is, Richard. Come on.
That's where you find the needles. 2
Yeah.
tap,
exactly.
target creature you control phases out. And the joke is in Assassin's Creed, you're like climbing roofs and buildings and all this stuff, and you jump, you land on the ground, you dead. You land in a haystack, no damage. Okay, so the haystack grants you like invulnerability as you land into it. Some might say you phase out.
So
Is
how
this like the best card ever because it gets around the F word?
So, I mean, it is very good protection for one creature. I know I like Vanishing. That's a card that I've talked about before as like one of my sleepers that I like to play when I need to.
What's Vanishing?
Vanishing is a 1-mana enchantment that you enchant a creature and you pay double blue to phase out that creature. So I think this is just like a huge upgrade over Vanishing, right? Because you can use it on any creature, not just whatever you have to put Vanishing on. So I think that it's very good if you're a deck that has something they need to protect. If I'm just playing like tokens or like a bunch of generic stuff that I don't have anything that's especially powerful or better than my other cards, then whatever. I don't know if I play this to like phase out one thing to get around to farewell, like sure, whatever. But if I'm trying to like Voltron, or I have like, I guess you always have your commander. If I have a commander that I'm trying to use to win the game and I'm actually planning on casting, then I think this is kind of an auto include.
I totally agree. I'm also a big Vanishing believer, and yeah, this is much better. And also the activation cost is too generic. So it's much easier to activate in like multicolor decks than double blue on Vanishing. And yeah, it's just like any Voltron deck, anything that's like my deck doesn't work unless my commander's on the battlefield, then you run this. And like it gets around a lot of stuff. It stops your opponents from doing a lot of stuff. And then eventually, like it buys, I like that it also Vanishing, for example, buys you a lot of time for when your opponents are like, okay, we need to get rid of this thing. And so I'm going to use my removal, and then you use your removal, and then we get it, right? And then that gives you like time to draw into your like Lauren's escape and Tamio's safekeeping and stuff. So like, oh yeah, you got me. Ha ha ha. My haystack, yeah, I've tapped out. And then you use the second one, and you're like, got him. Lauren's escape or whatever. But anyway, that's next level. But haystack's very good. I like it a lot.
What do you
Even
think?
though I
Richard?
voted for number 1, I think this card is trash.
Really? Not a believer.
Here's the difference. You look at it, you're like, phase out. That's amazing. That gets around farewell, right? Like, that's amazing, right? Except you have vanishing, you have robe of stars, and the key difference is those 2 cards attached to the creature. So when
Yes,
you
they don't
phase
fight.
them out, the protection piece phases out with them. So if you have robe of stars on your commander, you phase out your commander, both that and the robe go away. Same with vanishing. This one just sits around to get farewelled, right? So your commander phases out, but this goes, right? And this is an onboard protection spell that everyone can see. So when you put this down and they want to kill your commander, they'll be like, first remove the haystack and then remove the commander, right? I'd rather just hold like Tamio's safekeeping if I'm going to do this, right? So they don't know that I have the protection spell and they need to burn, their spell to find out I have it. So I think you don't actually play this. You play Robe of Stars if you actually want to protect something, or you play like the instant speed protection or a counter spell or whatever to make them actually use it. This one is like end step, attack your creature, haystack it out, right? Or and then untap, remove the haystack, your creature phases back in later, or remove the haystack, you're gonna phase your commander out right now. Like, it's an
Hey, so
onboard protection
Richard,
spell. You don't like it.
Richard, no, you ruined it for me, Richard. I agree, and I hate it. Thanks, Richard. You ruined haystack for me.
No,
I was
it's
very
It's like the
Okay,
excited.
seals.
okay,
You can't
okay,
just
okay.
put your
Okay.
instant speed trick on the battlefield.
But what
No,
if you're...
I'm fine with that. It's just I hate that you can remove the haystack and then remove the commander. That's
Yeah.
very annoying.
But if you're
That's
playing
super
a
not
deck that
cool.
really wants to protect its commander or whatever, can't you just play both? Like, wouldn't you play Robostars and this or whatever? Like, is it
Yeah,
bad to have
sometimes you don't
counter
have
spelling
access to
effect?
I'd play a
No, but-
counter spell or
no,
a
but if you're not in
indestructible
blue-
hexproof thing.
If you're not in blue, then you don't have vanishing. You don't have counterspell.
Like,
So
I-
it could show up, but
I-
it's not as good as Robe of Stars. That's true.
Although the upside, there is an upside. What if you have 2 creatures and you don't know which one you need to
Yes.
protect, but they're both
true.
important? Haystack,
Yes.
anyone can jump in the haystack apparently, but the Robostars is
Yeah.
only whoever's wearing it. So there is some upside. Like,
Yeah.
if you got 3 or 4 important creatures, you get to choose which one to save if there's a farewell or whatever. So farewell to the haystack.
If it phased itself out along with the
How
thing,
many
then this thing
farewells
would
do
be
you
cracked.
expect? How many farewells do you expect?
Well, it's
though?
not
Like, you
even a
get one
farewell. This dies to our revelation onto inversion, whatever, right? Like you phase
true.
out your commander, this goes.
But
Whereas Robo
it does
Stars
its
is a nice,
job.
clean. It even takes all the other equipment with it. So
Robostars
your
is
staff
better.
of Hermes and your Excalibur goes with the Robe of Stars, right? So that card is like so cracked.
I would
compared to
agree.
this.
Worse
No,
than
but the
Robe
staff
of
of Hermes
Stars,
is
but
equipped,
still
and it
does
already
something.
phases out. Yeah. But like if you have a bunch of equipment on the commander, you phase out the commander, you save all the stuff on that, the haystack goes. I think Robe of Stars is better, but I'd still run this in some decks as like a secondary.
It's backup Robostars.
It's fine. It's a haystack. It's very funny looking.
Plus, you can say
Power spell.
haystack.
What-
yeah.
Well, you haystack and they're like smoke bomb.
bomb.
You're like, crap, it has ground. I can't target it.
yes. They try to blow up your haystack and you smoke bomb them. Perfect.
You can't smoke bomb the phase out of Robo Stars though if it's already on. All right,
They moved to equip the Robe of Stars. Hey, smoke bomb.
those are our top 10 cards. Let us know what you think. Did we miss anything? Tomer's gonna have a video which is probably up by the time you're listening to this, ranking all of the cards from the set. So you can get a more comprehensive one, but this is our top 10 list. Did we miss any cards? You'll notice a lot of equipment and historic cards because that's kind of the theme of the set. Also, Assassins is the other theme of the set. So let us know in the comments what you think. And remember, if I'm not allowed to say farewell in the comments or in the video, you're not allowed to say farewell in the comments. Okay.
We'll see how that pans out.
All right, we'll see you all back next time. See you.
Farewell.
Farewell. Goodbye.